us. So here we go. So welcome to Talk with Marie. So Marie, it's been months in the making, right? We've been like,
Yes.
let's do this. And so today is the big day. So I'm excited because it's been I feel like it's been busy for 6 months. And I know what you've accomplished in 6 months that most people don't even get done in a year or more. And so one of the questions I didn't tell you about was about, when I see you and think of you, it's you to me like the epitome of like multi hyphenated. You're like creative, businesswoman, entrepreneur, and I'm sure there's much more. And you're still learning and taking classes and doing so many different things. I wanted to take a page from a mastermind and really have you think about how would you describe season in your life in terms of how you're showing up, how you're choosing, who you're choosing to be in this season.
Ooh, great question. First, thank you for having me today, Dr. Marie. As you mentioned, this has been a long overdue conversation, but everything in divine timing, right? The time is now. So, if I had to say, pick a season for right now, I would definitely say spring. Things are blooming. I'm not in hermit mode or hibernation mode currently. I'm not tending and picking and planting seeds right now. Seeds are already planted. I've laid out the areas of my land, it's sectioned off. And I feel like right now we're just in a space of receiving the sunshine, receiving the water, receiving the love, and allowing the process of blooming to happen for everything that I've planted for sure.
I love that. This is like I see life as a garden, or mine as a garden. So it's like what seeds are you planting in there? But also thinking also like what weeds did you remove before
Yeah.
you get there and ready, right?
Ooh,
So
yes. That's a big piece of it. I would say I'm still removing some weeds. Let's say that. We're removing those excess weeds that don't belong there so that everything can bloom right now.
yeah. And then just making room because that's the beautiful thing about spring because it's new beginning, it's renewal, but you had to have create, like you said, prepare the land, prepare your mind, prepare your space, prepare, like allow spirit to come through you and then to
Mhm.
see what's blooming, right? So it's not the harvest season yet. So
Correct.
one of the things I was excited to learn, even though you do so many things, because I see you more as like a holistic, almost someone who just sometimes I feel like you come from a whole different planet because of your energy is just like so angelic. And so it's almost like that creator in terms of like it's always like a very positive energy, regardless. I mean, there's ebb and flow in life. And so it's
Yes.
not always where it's like, hi, kind of thing, but it's almost like being present and really feeling all the things because something is
Mhm.
always happening. And so when I discover that part of you, who you are, is being a dancer, and
Mhm.
this is the season I feel like your program is happening. You created this beautiful company, Fly River. And I wanted to start there in terms of really sharing what inspired you to create this organization. And then how is that connected to you yourself being a dancer and then creating that space for others to also have that experience through dance.
Yes. Well, that's definitely a beautiful question and a great place to start. Because for me, my dance journey, my movement journey has definitely been an evolution. But I am constantly and have always constantly been at a place to remember where I started. And I'm 30 years old. I've been dancing since I was 3 years old. And my mom started us off in traditional African and ballet for that training, for that discipline. And then when I was about 5 or 6, um, I went on and started acrobatics, tap, modern, jazz, contemporary, more forms. However, it always stuck to me one that starting African dance so young, um, you learn a lot about yourself as a young child in a dance room. You learn that, whoa, I can actually move. I can stay on rhythm. I can work my body, right? Because I had a mom that is more left brained.
Mm,
And she would say to me, I can't move my body like that. You just do it so naturally. I got responses like that. You do it so naturally. Um, So that was pretty much all the way up until high school, all the way up until 12th grade. Those techniques, African ballet, gymnastics, jazz, tap, contemporary, modern, were heavily, that was what the training at my dance school did. That's what we did. So that's what I'm raised in. When I did not go to a performing arts high school. So, but we did have dance in my high school. My dance teacher in high school was a former alley dancer. So it was heavily modern that he brought us, and ballet, contemporary ballet. So that training never left me. However, when I graduated high school, I got introduced. I was in a company called Young Dance Makers Company, and I got introduced to different forms of modern. I got introduced to, oh, I was actually introduced to Horton also, but that's a form that a lot of African American dancers do, Graham Horton. When I was, after graduating high school, I got introduced to Lamone. Lamone is a older modern technique. However, it stuck with me because Jose Lamone's technique is very much about breath, is very much about fall and release, is very much about, it's very slow movement. And it can be grueling, especially for when you move so fast and what young dancers are more interested in, right? But that stuck with me. And then when I went on to college, I actually did go to college for dance. I went to Stevens College in Missouri, a very small women's college, less than 1,000 students. Yes, so it was a very focused track I was on. Small environment, you're here for what you do. I was there to dance. And my modern teacher was a part of the Doris Humphrey and Lamone company. So again, I was introduced to Lamone and took that technique even deeper. Um, so that's a big part of it. And also in college, I got introduced to world dance. So every semester, we would have different styles, techniques come in, from mime to stilts to, there's this technique called jump rhythm jazz in Chicago where it's scatting and jazz at the same time. I got introduced to a myriad of styles where we were also, when you go to school for dance, you're taught pedagogy, you're taught how to choreograph and how to teach. So I started to become interested in merging different styles together and seeing those relationships between the movement, how the rhythms, how the dynamics can correlate and cultivate a story. So that has always stuck with me. And then when I graduated college, dancing professionally from 2014 to 2018, coming back to New York City, I got thrown into the commercial dance world, which is more hip hop, which is a totally different dynamic than concert dance. And I was able to see how, when concert trained dancers, ballet, the technical trained arts of dance meet the commercial world, how they're able to execute simply because of their level of training, their level of understanding of their body, of movement, of rhythm, of rhythmic pattern dynamics, all of the different things that go into it. The more experience, I started to realize that the more experience a dancer has with that, the more well-rounded they are to step on any stage, the more well-rounded and prepared they are to perform any movement that's thrown in front of them, from Tai Chi to salsa to bachata to a traditional African dance. They can execute it simply because they understand their body, where their body's supposed to be, and what can come from that. So when creating the FlyRiver's Summer Dance Intensive, when creating FlyRiver's avenues to be for the children, for the next generations, that's what really stuck with me. How to meet tradition and blend tradition and transformation. Those two worlds where dance can either stand alone, but how can we unite it, and really give young dancers a chance to strengthen merging and blending styles together versus just staying in one track. Um,
Yeah, and
so I
that's
hope
great
that
because
answers that
yeah,
question.
it does answer it. Because I mean, you start with the training, and I think a lot of time that allows you to be more creative because there are those where it's like you do have a favorite one. Sometimes you're like you know how to do everything, but there is one where you probably move more naturally. And
Mm-hmm.
I've seen, especially TV, I think dance started getting a little exposure with. So you think you can dance and well of dance. I'm one of those people I watch the dance and I'm like probably just like your mom. I'm like I can't do none of that. It's like two left feet, but I love watching dancers and how. But I know it takes practice. Like the more ease and flow that they seem to have on stage, where it just feels like they're moving and
Mm-hmm.
nobody's watching, the more training I know that they've had to allow them
Correct.
to kind of flow that way. And so for you looking back, again, looking at commercial, being trained formally, and you see sometimes dancers who just seem like they just pick it up almost like an instrument. And again, the body is an instrument, right? And so what have you learned about yourself, sort of in hindsight, sort of like looking at little Samari, and then now, what has dance taught you about sort of like from girlhood to womanhood?
Well, that's beautiful that you say that too, because, well, that you ask me that, because that's another reason why this intensive and Fly River or everything that's under the Fly River umbrella exists, because I am speaking to that little girl version of me. I've been in dance my whole life and I've been around the greatest of the greats, okay? Stellar dancers. That's the rooms I'm in. But there's a piece of me that was always like, eh, that hurts. Eh, do I want to do an extra turn? Do I want to stay an extra hour? There's a thing about dancers that really go the extra mile for themselves, that you really just, it's in you. You can't fake that. And I'm not gonna lie, as a child I cheated a lot. I did. It hurts to strengthen these muscles. It's not easy. But there came a point in my life where I could really see how me going that extra mile, me showing out, me performing. Every time I walk down the street, the way I look, the way I'm looking ahead of me is like I'm on stage, because when you're on stage, you're looking straight into darkness. I was told to dance to that back row, to exude your energy to that back person all the way in the back row. So even when I'm walking down the street, that's the energy I have. But I know that from not cheating anymore. So this dance intensive is designed to pull that out of dancers, show up and show out. It's high energy, high impact. My choreographers that I picked were strategically picked for that reason, because each one of them is no joke. They do not come to play. So I think it's about cultivating those types of environments where it's a safe space for a child to release it all, go all out, break your back, go push past every limit so that you can feel what that feels like and keep going after that feeling. So that's the type of experiences I'm
Yeah.
pushing to bring.
And you're still remembering what that is. And now it's different. It's not just having fun, because a lot of time what people see is like, I'm having fun on stage. But even like a very short number, again, coming from a non-dancer, it takes effort. It takes
Yes.
so much practice, like because you've done that dance so many times before you even get on stage.
Yeah.
It is just like life. Like you've done all the stuff behind the scene that nobody knows until the big moment. And they're thinking like, you make it look so easy. But it's because like the practice, and then the body remembers and knows all the things you've been doing. And then to apply that to life, because life is
Yes.
a dance. There's so many things, and it's different type of dance, right? So it's not
Yeah.
always that one type that you want it to be. So sometimes it salsa, sometimes it feels like merengue, and then other time it just seems like a very slow motion.
Boot dance. You're doing the African boot dance.
Sometimes you hear the drum, sometimes it's like a silent dance, but it's like
Yeah.
I love watching where it's like every movement, and I love you use the word movement sometimes because it's less threatening, where you don't feel like you need to be some sort of well-trained person to be able to do it. And so again, that requires you to have discipline. And even though you're creative, I think a lot of the time I feel like in some spaces you're learning so much of the techniques, it kind of make it boring in a way, but it's like you have to learn those basics to be able to then say, you probably choreograph based on what you've learned very differently, but make it interesting instead of just like 1, 2, 1, 2, 3 kind of thing when learning it. And so I wanted to move into your routine in the morning. Um, let me see. I hope you're not frozen. And I wanted to talk a little bit about your power start. Let me know if you can hear me. Ooh, I think with this.
All right, we're back.
Yes. So I wanted to transition into your power start, your morning program,
Yes.
which I have tried testing myself. I am not a morning person, just like I'm not a dance person. But that's a routine that you make waking up early seem like the most natural thing that happens. So I want to know the inspiration behind that, and then finding other people waking up, what, 5 a.m.? Is it 5:30?
Yes, 5:30.
Yeah. So I had to wake up earlier than the time to actually make it on time, not being someone who can't even wake up that early. And so you created that program. So what was
Yes.
the inspiration? And then what do you think, like, 3 benefits in terms of being able to be up, not necessarily like early, but you do the same thing. Is it every day? Is it every morning you do it?
Monday through Friday.
So you created it. So how can we integrate that every day in our life so to continue it? Because that becomes a practice, right? So a
Yes.
lot of the time, but we say I'm not, you're like, I am an early riser, and you wake
Yeah.
up. I don't know if you still wake up at that same time on Saturday and
I
Sunday.
wake up at 4. Yeah, I do. Sometimes I give myself a break, but Saturdays I'm up early as
Still
well.
up. So what does that practice help us when it comes to our wellness or well-being to be able to do that every single morning, no matter what, and then to start that way with some of the what we do during that session. It's only 30 minutes, which is really great,
Yeah.
but a lot is done during that time.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Uh, the power start through Maaat TreeHouse definitely came from a need. Um, One, I have always been a rising person. I've always woke up at 6:30 in the morning faithfully. The sun was up, I was up. So one, that is just my nature. It's not as difficult for me as it could be for someone else. But you said something that I think simplifies it, and it's about a routine and doing something over and over again. For me, a lot of things get simplified because there's a cause and effect. There's a cause to something and there's an effect to something. And I enjoy being someone who has a lot of energy. I enjoy being someone who is clear minded. I enjoy being somebody who is fit. Um, and I'm also a mom.
Mm,
So, a big piece of this routine being so easy for me was because once I became a mom, I had to find my own time. I had to make time for myself. And just like I said, I've been an early riser since a child. My daughter is an early riser. So since she's been here with me, she's been up by like 7:38 with the sun. She doesn't sleep past 10 ever. Um, so that was a big piece of it. So like I said, the power start came from a need. I needed to center myself before the world began. I have a lot of demanding energies around me that I'm responsible for and I have to show up for. And I realized very quickly, because life made me realize also that I would get very burned out very quickly if I did not make sacred time for myself and take it seriously. And I had to care about it also. I care about myself, so I have to give myself that time. Um, and it wasn't always easy. I had to set like 7 alarms for myself at one point because I do have other, just a full day of schedule. Sometimes I wouldn't go to sleep until 12. And I'm like, hold on, I still want to wake up at 4 or 5 and do this for myself. And this was prior to the power start. But I was able to show myself that consistency and the way I felt. I could not deny it. And then I started being in a lot of rooms where I hear people expressing that they also would want to wake up at this time. So I took it upon myself to realize that, hey, this comes to me so easily. I can share it with other people. So that's how the Power Start came into fruition, from me realizing that what I do, other people's will like to do also. And because it's so easy for me, I can give it out very easily. And I usually do this by myself. Now there's more people doing it with me,
Great,
right?
which is great. And that's the best way to start. I think a lot of the time we show up for other people, it's very easy. And so the fact that you're like, I have to take care of myself, and then you're teaching your daughter, and then other people are coming along in terms of it becomes a way of life. So you
Yes.
don't have to, those
Yes.
alarms, I'm sure they're less than seven. Your body now just wakes up whether you want to or
Yes.
not, because you already trained it to just
Yes.
be up. And so, now you have your own internal clock where you're like, you may not
Yeah.
need the alarm as quickly because you're like, oh, it's this time. And then you up before the sun at this point. You up before
Yes.
the sun because
You hit it on the note with saying, goodness, you just said it.
which
Before
one?
the
The
internal
routine.
clock.
Oh, your
Oh,
internal clock.
no,
Go.
before internal clock. I'm so mad they let it slip. Way of life. Thank
Yes.
you for coming back. That is what stuck with me, and that's what was told to me, that these things have to be like breathing air.
Yes.
It's a way of life, and that's what stays in my mind to keep me going. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, and then and teaching that with others. And I think when you do it in community, it's very different in terms of a lot of the time by yourself, you can always come up with a story or reason and say, you know what, I'll do it at 6, I'll do it at 6:30. But since you made that commitment to yourself and then you started doing it, and so again, it's a habit.
Yeah,
It's something you just do, and it's not you're not struggling or dreading it. You actually look forward to it. And so that's very
yeah.
different. So I'm like, let me just set the alarm at a certain time. And so I think that's a beautiful way to start the day, every
Hmm.
single day. And then you're ready, right? Because you start
Yeah.
much earlier than most people. And I'm sure by like 3, you've had like a full day. If you're up at 4
For
a.m.,
real. Yeah.
it's
I
like,
always say there's three parts to my day. There's the 3 to 10 window. There's the 10 to 1 window. There's the 1 to 5 window. And then there's after 6. So
yeah.
that's like 4 windows.
And then you're just winding down. And so I think it's a great way to start. And I think affirmation, I don't know if there's an affirmation, but I know you do motivation in the morning. So I wanted to go into affirmations because I know you do have a book of affirmation where you're sharing, and that's another way to center and ground ourselves. And so you have
Hmm.
like a favorite 3 that you want to share with us today, and how they serve as tools to empower us and help us get centered or uplift us on something.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't do that much affirmation in, I mean, everything is affirming,
Yeah.
right? We're always affirming.
So go
We're
ahead.
always affirming
Go
in
first.
the Power Start. However, Focus Thursdays is
Mhm.
more geared towards that real internalizing, because you can, the affirmation, I feel you really have to crystallize these things within you. Um, so that I feel requires more dedicated time. And for me, after all the time that I've spent with affirming things, and it's been a long time. I was just telling someone a little more about my story the other day, and I've actually been playing with affirmations since the 8th grade, like
Oh,
writing them on post-its in the mirror and like leaving them up. I've been dealing with negative self-talk. I was dealing with negative self-talk at a young age, into my adulthood. So that's why affirmations are very dear to me, and I know they work. So 3 that where I'm at right now, I feel it very strong. The first one would be, I care enough for super results. That one is a big one. When you break it down, you have to care, and care. I feel like not enough of us really recognize our true level of care that we have for ourselves and other people. Um, and the results, right?
yeah.
Super results, not just regular results, super results. So I love that one. And then, I am what I want to be.
Mm,
That one is a very powerful, simple, and profound affirmation for me, because it puts you back in control of what it is that you want to be, and claim it and know that, right? And stand in the reality of what that is. No one can pull that away from you. And then the last one will have to be that I know this supreme science works with the forces of nature.
Mm,
I feel like that one really encompasses all all affirmations and why we even say them. So if you say that one to yourself, it's like the period at the end of the sentence, you know. I know that this supreme science works with the forces of nature. Me saying these things to myself, me crystallizing these vibrations within my body are going to be supported by the profound forces of nature. So it's definitely, as you can see, I like simple and profound
mhm.
affirmations, ones that you have to sit and digest, where it's like, it's so simple, but whoa. So
But
yeah, those would be my top three.
yeah, knowing is a different feeling. And I think that idea of being crystal clear and
Yes.
specific, where it's not just like, I want results, and you're like, I want super results, or supreme versus, and then choosing your words in terms of what are you
Yeah.
saying, right? So that's a nice way to, not nice, like a different way, powerful way of really almost like squashing the negative self-talk, because these
Yeah.
are truly, you can embody them when you're saying them, and because you know, because you believe, and it's part of your essence, it's very, I would hope it would be hard for those negative talks to come back in.
Correct, right?
They'll just be expelled. It's like there's no room for you. It's like making your spaces very I almost want to, I had a different word, but alkaline, where you're like, nope, you don't belong here, sort of like get them out
Yeah,
of.
like eradicate. Although, yes, 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 yes. They do have that power. But again, it's still the person, the individual has to understand that, right? Because I've worked with a multitude of people at different places, and I'm still at a certain place with understanding the power of words, right? It doesn't happen overnight. I will say that. It doesn't happen overnight. And anyone that thinks that it can happen overnight, I want to see it happen. I do, because forces, positive and negative forces, are always going to be at play. Um, but like you said, knowing is a certain thing, and believing is a certain thing. For me, and what my life has revealed, believing for me brings weaker results than knowing for me. So I do my entire best to have, how you said, that crystal clear clarity on things so that I can stand in knowing. And the words that I choose are definitely strategically picked so that they can keep me in the space of knowing and not allow any internal or external doubt to overpower the the actual reality that is to be.
Do that. Yeah, so that's a beautiful practice. So hopefully I'll share the link to get to your to that book and be able to see more. And then the
Yeah.
other piece, I know this year, in a way, it's connected to affirmation and really thinking about talk about manifestation. And so dreams is a big thing, especially through the mastermind. You created your dream. And
Mhm.
so do you pay attention in terms of like this year? And again, we talk about being that inner child, that, little Samari. So I think a lot of people don't take time to dream. You reach a certain age, and 30 is not, there, but I think people reach a point where they're like, I'm too grown to be dreaming about that kind of stuff, right? And so what are you still dreaming about for you, for your life, for your community, your family, that's still in the season?
Well, for one, I will start by saying, if you're not dreaming, start dreaming. And if you are dreaming, keep stretching your dreams. So that's where I'm at. I am extremely thankful that I am a very youthful, spirited person. I have a very vivid imagination. I am an air sign. I can live quickly within my mind and fantasies. So that I don't have a problem with. But it is where I'm at is having a practical vision of my dream so that everything that I want, I can achieve instead of it being too much of a fantasy or
Mm,
too much of a, I don't even know how to put that into words, but all I know is that grounding was what was needed for my dream and stretching is what was needed for my dream. I think that answers your
yeah.
question.
No, I mean, I think stretching and dreaming bigger, because I think in a lot of ways, and again, it's still connected to dance, to what you said earlier about
Hmm.
looking farther out and just being, because you can't be small on stage, right? You just have
Yeah.
to be, bigger than life and really believe that, not just performing bigger than life, but being that in itself. And so one of the connection, we talk a lot about creativity and dance. And so part of the season is also you being a CEO and stepping into that role. And I know a lot of creative, it gets challenging because it's when you're creative, you just want to focus on the art and do the work and enjoy that part. And so what has been, did you have to evolve, or what transition did you have to make, a mind shift or mindset to now when you are being the CEO and creating your business? I mean, you have multiple businesses, and to be able to
Mhm.
do that requires a different side of your brain to be able to do.
Yeah.
You still get to be creative, but that piece, for those who are just like, I just want to be able to do what I like, what would you say to them who are also, what it's like being an entrepreneur and what it takes to do both and to kind of fuse those two things together, where it's really necessary to have a business, being a creative person, but they're not in opposition.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I've met a lot of people like that. The first thing you have to do is one, make that choice for yourself. Either you're going to be just a creative or you're going to be both the CEO and the creative, because that's the first step, knowing what you're going to be and who you need to be, right? So that was a big part of it, starting to analyze what qualities and aspects of me fit into that creative mold and what qualities and aspects of me that I naturally have first fit into the CEO role. And I had a plethora in both, but now how do I sharpen these skills so that I can become a better creative and a better um CEO for my business? And I think the biggest piece for me is discipline
Mm,
and giving up the attachment to things that I like giving up the attachment to things that just make me comfortable. I think those are the biggest pieces that allowed me to mature and allowed me to just get the things done that I needed to get done. Because it's not rocket science, it's just showing up, being deliberate, being intentional, being clear, and delegating. A lot of creatives, they I also have a background that positioned me to be able to have skills in both aspects. Like, yes, I was a dancer, but I also come from a family business, have a lot of administrative experience, executive assistant experience. I've been in both worlds. Not a lot of people have had that. Uh, so, delegation, being able to, even if you don't have the qualities, see these qualities in someone else and delegate, collaborate, learn how to properly work with someone. A lot of people, even if they do delegate, I realize they don't strengthen their relationships, like how to have strong business relationships with people well enough for the longevity of that business. So I think for creatives, dancers specifically, who are attempting to be a CEO and a creative, it's about knowing what you can or cannot do, what you're willing to do and not do, and delegating properly. I think that allows a greater window of success for creatives, dancers specifically.
yeah, I mean, I think it happens across the board, and I think it's something, again, we don't learn, right? And so part of it is thinking, I'm just gonna know, or you do everything by yourself because you have, like, you know so much, and it's not even just like out of interest? Like you actually trained and studied and
No, but that's what I was about to say, and I apologize for cutting you off. But I think it's also about that's why I said I care enough for super results. You
Mhm.
have to care. And a lot of people don't care about things. And when you really get to they'll say, I just didn't care. And, you know, I think that's a big piece of it. When you care about stuff, you will get it done.
Yeah. But that takes time. And I think that's part of the journey because again, you had people who are entrepreneurs, businesses, and you are allowed to again like be, right? And so there are some people where it's like if they don't see it, for example, so seeing you having the businesses and then they are successful and then still have other interests. I think sometimes you think like I'm gonna have to give up something, for example, or there are times where you're not focusing so much on that creativity part and it's really solely on the
Well,
business.
here's another piece of it. I definitely, because I told you about, my dance journey and, I'm a mom. You understand a little bit how my art treehouse, you know me personally. Um, However, I can't also highlight, I've always been in communities that raise my awareness and keep me paying attention to where I am within myself, the personal development type of stuff. So I would also say that that's a big piece of it also. To actually get to the next level, you have to be working on yourself spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally. There are those aspects that coincide that I cannot say were never not there for me. I've always had somebody in my corner or a group in my corner that was like, hey, pay attention to self, sit down, silence yourself and get clear. So I know that's a big piece of it. The more you silence yourself, the more you remove distractions, the more clearer your personal path becomes, the more clearer for creative, where you're supposed to be creative, how you're supposed to be creative, and what that purpose is for you. And I feel like creative people, dancers, artists, all the multimedia and the actors, I feel like it's more important for us as individuals to do that because our nature leads with that. We're such creative people. We have to know self. We have to understand self a little bit more. So that would be my message.
Yeah, no, it's important because again, seeing you as a model, and I think a lot of times seeing that representation that it's possible. That's the other piece sometimes where not everyone get to see, they might see one part of you, like they see the dancer, and they don't realize there's more, right? And that's
Oh,
the
yeah.
beauty of being multi-layered, you're not like that one person, but they may just see you on stage and thinking, that's all you do all the time. And so I want to go back to the dance because I know it's it's around the corner.
Yeah.
You're also looking for support for people to really make sure that all young people have access and have this beautiful experience. And so, how would you like our viewers and community to support you as more young people you want them to have access to dance and really be able to enjoy this experience?
Yes, definitely. Well, with our Fly River, we have a scholarship fund in which we are dedicated to providing exceptional experiences for focus driven, pre professional dancers under the age of 19. So any support, any contributions towards that scholarship fund would be greatly appreciated for the New York City area. Um, as well, we have adult classes through Fly River. Um, those are our efforts right now through Fly River that are public. Yes, we have a lot behind, but
I think it's a great time, especially and again, the idea of this new season, summer is gonna be here, activities that you get to do, and just being able to have that outlet. I think that creative, expressive outlet that I think, especially in this time when there's a lot happening in our space, and I think being you creating that space for, especially for young people, where you're able to have role models and have people to support you and learn something new that truly can be part of your whole life, right? I think a dancer is always a dancer, regardless with every part, wherever you are, I think is a stage and you're always dancing. And so that's a beautiful
yes.
lesson. One of the fun questions I had for you, I don't know how it would work. I was thinking of more you probably do choreography as well, not just
Mhm.
perform.
Correct.
And so again, when you think of your life now, if you can think of a song or type of choreography you would do that would convey to us your life right now, do you have an idea of what you would do? A
Oh
song you
yeah.
would use or a type of dance? I
Oh
know
yeah.
what is hard. What kind of stories you would want to share through that?
No, and it's beautiful that you asked me that because that is why Fly Rivers Dance Company is in the works because that's my theme. Like
Mhm.
how do I want to convey my life story through dance? Is the way movement comes through me through those forms. It gets intricate.
Mhm.
Don't get caught up. It gets intricate. Watch the feet now. Watch the feet now. The feet might be intricate, but the top is also graceful. Um, like a swan, you know?
Mhm. That-
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Hopefully, there's some drums in there. That's the only
Oh yeah, and drums. We can't forget the drums now.
some drums
We
to
got drums, we
bring
got
things
strings, we got it all.
all the
Yes.
things happening. So yeah, so I think that's another way in terms of like it's not just about writing the story or telling the story, but really, and I love how as part of the work, wisdom is in there, but I appreciate remembering our ancestors and how they're
Yes.
still part of us and that they're all
Yes.
part of the story still and the reason we can still be doing what we're doing right now and that it's I see it in how you do the work that it's not just modern but it's like we're thinking
Mhm.
back in terms of all
Yeah.
the things that have been created for us to be here. So I'm hoping that all the young people, the choreographers, that there will be a collective story but also their individual stories will be centered because a lot of
Yeah.
time it's not right. So now you get to be visible, you get to share that and that they are receptive and willing to discover that story because sometimes they don't know what that story is until you go through a process like this. And so for people who are like, I want to know more about this, especially if they're in your area and they want to support. And again, you don't have to be where you are for people to support. Anyone
Correct.
can still
We
be.
are global. We are all over this planet. Catch us in a city near you. But yes, if you are interested, you know a dancer, you yourself are a dancer, have a loved one that's a dancer, that one would be interested in being a part of the Fly River Summer Intensive. We are open for registration up until June 20th. You can find us via our link at our website. Find us on Instagram, Fly River. If you would like to contribute to our scholarship fund, you can also find that information on our website below. And regarding Maaat TreeHouse, if any of you guys would like to be a part of that community, join our Power Start every day, Monday through Friday from 5:30 a.m. to 6 a.m. Our Focus Thursday, we have a multitude of services on under Maaat Treehouse. So definitely check out our website below. Follow us on Instagram, Maaat Treehouse. And I definitely look forward to seeing a lot of you all a part of our community.
Is there a final production? So even if during the program, is there like a final
For
show?
Fly River?
Yes.
Yes, the final production is July 19th. So definitely be on the lookout. If you are a sponsor, you will receive recognition at that show. So we hope you are able to attend. And yeah, we are definitely looking forward to that fully high dynamic performance.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. So that you have an exciting summer ahead and probably the rest of the year in terms of what's happening. So I
I
know
have an exciting life ahead, Dr. Marie.
have an exciting life. I'm like, all the dancing and creation, it's really
Yes.
beautiful. So at least we can experience the finale. So I'm one of those people again, it's like I'm not gonna be on stage, but I'll go to all the dance piece and encourage
Yes,
people to
please.
experience that and support the arts, especially the time we're living in where it's always been a struggle, but it's a struggle that we know art being an artist is, it's a labor of
Yeah.
love. It's never about the other piece, but when you're in an environment where we know the artists, usually they're the one literally helping us stay grounded and having hope and believing that so much is possible. And so,
Yeah, even with that dynamic within itself is a tradition,
yeah,
and a tradition that transforms over time, between the artist and the audience. But each one matters.
yeah,
So I definitely appreciate you saying that.
yeah. In the world, because I'm thinking of Toni Morrison, even Maya
Yeah,
Angelou. Maya was a dancer, and actually, I'm
yeah.
thinking of her a lot today because it's her anniversary of her passing.
We lift her
Um,
up. Yes.
yeah, and so really thinking about artists being called, and so at any age, right, that this is the time. I think Toni Morrison was like, "This is the time," because there's so much happening where you feel like I'm gonna, like you were saying, it's not winter. This is the time for you to really let your art, help the world cope with
Yeah.
whatever's going on, but also celebrating. I think I also see joy in spite of
Yeah.
everything going on around us. You can literally make sure somebody want to be see what's possible still
Yeah.
in this world, and
Yeah.
that
Be the
imagination.
light. Be the light for a lot of people's tunnels.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I look forward to spreading the word, possibly showing up in July and seeing what the whole company has created and what the young people have created during that period of time. And so thank you for being on. I'm hoping this is the first of many conversation because you have a lot of different pieces you're working on, and then
Yes.
spreading the word about the affirmation for people to really integrate,
Oh, yes.
right?
Yes, Maaat TreeHouse. We have publications where you can find a whole bunch of self-help tools. So our bestseller is our affirmation book, which you can find on Amazon. We do have it in physical copy as well as an audio version. And it's filled with 109 of simple and profound affirmations. So I would definitely suggest for a lot of you guys to get that. Yeah.
It. So thank you so much. And then I look forward to the next time that we have something
Thank
that we
you, Dr. Marie. I enjoyed having being a guest on your podcast. I appreciate you.